What is a job that pays extremely well, but no one realizes it? Story 1. So this is more per hour than gross, but still, every piano tuner I've ever heard or spoken with has discussed how good the work-life balance is. How if they need more money, they just accept more jobs. How they're beating away jobs with a stick because there just aren't enough hours in the day. A first-year tuner makes around 150 hour, 40K year on average in an average COL area, and goes up to 80K a year as you wrangle your own regulars or go to higher COL areas. Every time you look up a piano tuner, they're talking about how badly needed they are. There was a post a while back about an orchestra literally offering scholarships to people wanting to become tuners because there just wasn't enough availability in the area. You'd think that there wouldn't be that many people who want their pianos tuned, but even if you leave out the lackadaisical hobbyist who forgets for 15 years, churches, schools, music professionals, concert halls, theaters, airports, hotels, and nursing homes all often have pianos that require tuning. Answer: I typically have to schedule my tuner at least 2 weeks in advance, and she charges $200 an hour. Some of the more expensive tuners that service concert halls charge $350, and their calendars are fully booked for 2 months. Sounds like a lot per hour, but I suppose there are some hidden costs in doing the job. It probably takes her an hour to get here and to go back, and she has to pay for parking. So the on-site hourly rate has those expenses baked in. I feel like it would be really nice to service a university, tune 100 pianos in the same building, and you don't have to travel from client to client. Maybe those schools just have their own in-house tuners who do it full-time. Story 2. I worked as a wastewater treatment plant operator for 30 years. Holidays and overtime paid ridiculous money. We would have tours with school children, and one boy, after smelling the place, said to me, "You should make $1 million. LOL, the mouths of babes." Story 3. I know someone who cleans up dog poop in yards. He charges a lot and has a set list of clients and works a few days a week. Apparently, some people would rather pay someone to clean up after their dog than do it themselves. Story 4. A niche, but if you grow flowers for florists, you can make bank. It's my first year, but we sold a bunch of zinnias on demand and to florists this year, along with a few 1,000 specialty sunflowers. The sunflowers are pretty much hands-off once they are planted with drip line. They shelter out weeds pretty fast. We're selling them to florists at $1.50 per stem and have made a few thousand only a few weeks into the blooms. The rest are all spoken for before they have even bloomed, and we're set to pull in about $30K in flowers sales this year. And it was just a test year. Our local competitors, who we will compete with next year, make a few $100,000 a year via florist sales, direct sales, and U-pick. Answer: Congrats on starting your farm. I'm a county agriculture extension agent, and I always recommend this book to my new growers. The PDF version is free, or you can get a print copy for $22. A well-written business plan goes a long way to getting your ag classification, and that status gains you access to tons of state and federal programs that can cut down on costs. If you're past that stage, it'll also help you with risk management strategies. If you ever need any assistance and you aren't already, get in contact your county extension office. We're here to help. Story 5. Ditch digger. I make 46 AR, almost unlimited overtime, 65-day bonus for being on call, minimum of 3 hours pay if on-call phone rings, 1.5x pay after 8 hours in a day, 2x pay after 12. Get sent home at 13.5 hours in a day if it goes that long. Pretty easy to make 150 to 200K per year if you are reliable. Answer: Can confirm. I worked for a very small water utility, and we contracted out most large projects to one guy, but he was also the on-call for breaks that happened for us in sewer. He had a real nice truck, backhoe, dump truck, etc. However, the job doesn't make you a millionaire right away, since you need to buy expensive earth-moving equipment and maintain them. If you're willing to do the work and stay motivated, you'd be sitting pretty in 7 years. Also, nothing wrong with digging ditches. Nikola Tesla had to when things got tight. As long as you keep an open mind, you can do anything. Story 6. Union sprinkler fitter, fire protection, not irrigation. Easily 100K on the check with no overtime. Total package is worth almost 100 hour. pension, supplemental pension, healthcare, company vehicle. Story 7. Biomedical equipment technician. Fix medical equipment in hospitals. Typically only requires a 2-year degree. I started slightly above 30 HR and now make over 40 HR working on radiology equipment. Kinda like IT, but with only a relatively small part of the job being computers. There's a 2-year degree specific for the industry, but with the manpower shortage, it's not a requirement. I know a lot of people who've moved into this field with a regular 2-year technical degree of some kind. If you grew up taking stuff apart and figuring out how it works, then this is a perfect job to continue that kind of skill set. Like many other trades, not a lot of people know about it, so there's good job security. Lots of people retiring out, and not a lot of people coming in. You need to be comfortable working around patients at times, or working in the OR, and that can make it stressful at times. The money is pretty good for a job that mostly has you inside in the air conditioning, working normal business hours, except for on-call. Story 8. Industrial maintenance technician. I did less than 2 years in tech program, am not particularly mechanically inclined, and got hired at a union brewery with great benefits and easily making $100K. Honestly, 90 of the time I'm just hanging out in the office reading books. There are those, holy crap, how am I going to fix this moments? But mostly, it's gravy. Story 9. A lot of these threads are about how plumbers and welders and linemen and machine operators make great money. And they do. But I'm going to throw a little contrast in there. I'm a dental service technician. Essentially a mechanic for dentists. You need to be personable. You need to be able to work independent. You need to have a basic mechanical proficiency. No other requirements. Henry Schein will hire an utterly green tech, give them basic training, $45K, and that person will now have a 40-hour-a-week job working in clean, indoor environments, with good benefits and an annual 3 raise. After 3 years, they can jump to Benco or Midwest for a 10 raise and be sitting 55-60K, then do it again in a few years. After the 3rd jump or so, you'll be sitting between 80K and 100K for, again, mostly easy indoor work. Plumbers with my time in their field will be making more money than I do, but they're also working harder. And this is a huge point, you don't actually have to be good at being a dental service tech. It helps. But over the years, I've had dozens of examples of coworkers proving that competence isn't a requirement. Story 10. Here's what I realized. The jobs that are the most undesirable or hard to do pay very well. Anything that the media glorifies actually really sucks as a job because a lot of people want to get into it, so you are probably overworked or won't get in. Story 11. HVAC controls technician. No heavy lifting, mainly on a computer. Work from home 13 of the time. Make $120K with extra from overtime. Company car, 6401K match. Some jobs over premium rates, where I can make 77 HR for overtime or 103 HR on double time. Sundays, holidays. Story 12. Boiler room foreman. Not sure if this is the right job title, but if you're the person legally responsible for a boiler room, at least where I live, you get paid bank. I've heard $250K in NYC for the school custodian in charge. I should quit my teaching gig. Story 13. A lot of blue-collar work. I'm a construction project manager, and we paid a guy $60 an hour one day, and all he did was stand around waiting just in case we needed an operator during a concrete pour. Story 14. Takedown and tragic end cleanup pays very, very well. I don't have numbers, but it isn't a field most people want to go into. Involves hazmat, and city contracts nobody wants to look into all that closely. Answer. I did this for a while with a friend's company. They had a regular cleaning company and tried to branch out into hazmat and crime scene cleaning. It was early in their business, so I didn't make what experienced people make, but for a 28-year-old guy in 2005, it was around $45 an hour. Great job, and I probably would have kept it up, but the company died. Edit. Someone else mentioned hotel rooms. No joke, 4 out of 5 messy ones were hotel rooms. The vast majority were old people with no family that had been there a bit. Story 15. I'm a firefighter in a mid-sized city. We start around $64K a year, but get a bump at 3 years and then 5 years. Once you hit your 5-year mark, you're making 96K a year, union benefits, amazing healthcare, pension, and about a month and a half vacation time with how our schedule works. If you like doing overtime, you can easily make 120K. Some overtime studs make up to 170K a year. I don't do that because you'd basically have to live at work. And on top of it all, I'm sitting on a couch watching TV 90% of the time, and people actually like you, unlike being cops. Pretty great gig if you can get hired. Oh, and without overtime, I only work 2 24-hour shifts a week, so I have a lot of free time if I choose to stay home. Story 16. Would love to hear about someone who read one of these threads that pop up all the time and made the conscious decision to try and change their career. Answer. I came across one of these threads my senior year of high school. At the time, I was considering either mechanical or electrical engineering until someone mentioned the Merchant Marines. After reading that, I went on to attend California Maritime Academy for Marine Engineering, and I've been making great money ever since. I didn't even know this career was an option before that thread. Story 17. Garbage men. Everybody underestimates that old garbage man. I had always heard that the compensation was trash, but that isn't true. I was told that my job would be a waste of time. I'm glad I didn't listen to them. I make over $70,000 a year without overtime. You get treated like garbage, and that stinks, but it's worth it for the paycheck. Story 18. Not a job, but being a spouse of a congressman can provide you all the information you need to trade stocks with winnings in the millions. So far, it does not seem to be illegal either. Story 19. What sucks about these threads is these badass jobs that pay hella are always followed by, and you pretty much can get all the OT you want, which tells me it's a job where you're expected to put in OT to a certain extent without any say. Fudge that. Where are the jobs that pay a ton and allow you to work exactly 40 hours and have a life still? I could give a fudge about having money if it meant I don't have any time to explore and enjoy it. Answer. Yeah, for many the money is only great with OT. I'm a mail carrier 4 years in and make $24.82 an hour, which was okay for my area until recently if you wanted to squeak by. But just 5 to 6 hours of OT a week adds another $10,000. I worked 55 to 60 hours a week for 2 solid years until recently. And while the money was great, it can destroy the rest of your life along with your body. 1 day off every 7 to 10 days is not sustainable if you want to be healthy. Story 20. I make $100K a year cleaning apartment loft hallways and entrances. Work about 25 hours a week. My biggest stress is running out of podcasts to listen to. Story 21. Medical monitor for human clinical trials. And the bennies will blow your mind. Had a school buddy who was using his per diem food money to build a hell of a liquor cabinet. Story 22. Warehouse manager making $210K per year. Never thought a career in warehousing distribution would amount to that. Story 23. Radiation therapists in CA. Average starting salary is $120K out of school. I made a video of it somewhere and happy to have gotten some people from Reddit into school. We need more therapists. Story 24. The people that hold stop-slow signs at roadworks, traffic controllers, on average, 48.93 AU$ per hour. Even more than that if you work at night, weekends, or public holidays. Story 25. Garbage man waste management. Here I am busting my jerk as an ER nurse. City next to me offers the same pay, better benefits, retirement pension, all for the same salary. I say this as a positive, and for a moment considered a career change. Those guys deserve every penny they earn, if not more. Story 26. Radiation protection at a nuclear power plant. Most only require a 2-year degree. We cap out ATM at 56 HR. Actually, most jobs in nuclear pay very well even at the bottom. If you can pass a background check and can deal with never getting high again, you can make 150 to 200K easy. Story 27. Bartender. I cleared 90K on what was recorded, credit card tips, and literally saved every cash dollar I made, almost 35K. I worked 2 nights and 2 days a week. I've made so many acquaintances that whenever I want to come out from behind the bar, I've options for what I do next. Answer. I was a bartender for 25 years in the UK, GM of one of the best cocktail bars in the country for 10 of them. When you work out what I was making per hour, It was well under minimum wage. I was literally the worst paid person in the business. Loved every second of it, but we don't have a tip culture in the UK, especially in bars, so the wages are dogs. In Australia, I made bank. AU 600-ish on decent days. Took me ages to move away from bartending because the lifestyle is wild and it's addictive as F. Story 28. I worked as a 911 operator. I recently promoted to the admin side, but I was at 42 HR when I was answering calls. No college degree needed. Just type fast and occasionally be ready to hear some heinous shoot. Story 29. Latent fingerprint examiner. Employed by a law enforcement organization. Union wages and beaucoup overtime. Story 30. Project management. Coordinate with vendors and adhere to budgets. Do maybe 16 to 20 hours of actual work at a desk in a 40-hour week and pull 120 to 150K small time or 200K in the big leagues. Story 31. The real question is what jobs pay well and have a shortage of workers? Many jobs pay well but are hard to get into. Others are being eliminated. So the real question, where are the high-paying jobs of tomorrow? Answer, well, not exactly shortage, but one you can rest easy in knowing there will always be demand, being anything in the mortuary field of things. People will always be dying after all. You got to be made for that kind of job, though. Like how it takes certain people to be EMS to see fudge up shoot every day. I forget the official title, but part of mortuary work includes making deceased people look nice. Makeup, of course, but also stuff for minor reconstruction of features and whatnot. This field is for the goth girls that like finding random jerk animal bones and building a collection of the stuff LOL. Story 32. Court stenographers. They can make 6 figures just for typing fast, and the shortage is so bad, some courts are literally delaying trials because they can't find one. Story 33. Real estate photography. 6 figures a year and my stress level isn't anywhere near to those professions making same money. Story 34. Overnight. Hospital maintenance. I was making 30 an hour just to be on call for the night. You probably get like 3, 4 calls a night. I was sleeping for at least 5, 6 hours per night. Amazing benefits and a very strong union that regularly goes on strike for more money. You don't need any type of school, and the overtime is unlimited. I was clearing over $5,000 a month. Story 35. Depends on what you define as paying extremely well. I make $100K working as a U.S. licensed customs broker. There are less than 15,000 of us nationwide. Come join our industry. We're shorthanded. Story 36. Chief mate on a tugboat. I get $730 per day, paid travel to and from the boat, full benefits. Next step up is captain, which is $1,000 per day. HS. Drop out. Got my GED. 6 months of vacation every year. Story 37. Not sure if this is 100% accurate, but a dude who worked the docks in Charleston, South Carolina, said that longshoremen that work the cranes make up to $300K a year. Story 38. Jobs that you can't see usually. I've always been curious about the people who put pipes and lines in the ocean. Story 39. Mine is good pay for an entry-level job. I was hired at Costco as a cart pusher making 17. After 3 years, I am in the meat department as a cutter butcher. I'm making $34.50 HR with time and half every Sunday, so really $37.95 HR. And the benefits are super good. Best med benefits I've ever had. Story 40. Process operators at chemical plants earn $150,000 to $200,000 per year. Their lab technicians earn the same and get to enjoy air conditioning. Story 41. I just found out a guy I graduated with is going to be making $1.1 million a year to coach a mid-college basketball team. Like, I know there's money in college sports, but holy hell. Story 42. Not a job per se, but owning boring local businesses can be quite lucrative. We're talking carpet companies, car dealerships, pharmacies, HVAC, windows, etc. Story 43. Honestly, landscaping ground maintenance. I make $60,000 a year and I run a mower all day long most days. Every now and then there are intense days with lots of physical labor, but most days are chill. At the end of the day, it's still a job most people do after retirement, and I get paid pretty well to do it. Story 44. My son is a server at a high-end steakhouse. He makes $5,000 a week. He was at another restaurant for 5 years, and it got a Michelin star, and he was contacted by his current employer and offered a job. It seems restaurants want servers with Michelin-level experience. He likes his job because he gets to create new cocktails, but when he's asked what he does, he says, "I'm a server." Story 45. Honestly, people think high-paying doctor, lawyer, tech bro, but the real money is hiding in jobs nobody talks about. Ditch diggers, linemen, plumbers, elevator techs, garbage collectors. They're all quietly making 150, 250K because nobody wants to do dirty, risky work. Infrastructure emergencies don't wait for business hours. Overtime stacks up fast when pipes burst at 3 a.m. My buddy's an elevator mechanic with a high school diploma, cleared 190K last year. Another friend fixes gas leaks, made 160K being on call. Lineman neighbor, 240K after working hurricane repairs. Here's the thing. These jobs are recession-proof. People always need power, water, working elevators. While tech gets laid off, these guys just keep cashing checks. The jobs society looks down on, those pay bank if you stick with them. The sexy jobs everyone wants. Journalism, teaching, entry-level corporate. Those pay shoot because too many people want them. Most will train you and pay for certifications. No college debt, just show up ready to work. Bottom line, if you can handle getting dirty and working odd hours, there's a whole world of six-figure jobs people ignore while chasing Instagram-worthy careers that barely pay rent. Answer: yeah, but if I'm a lawyer, I can birth children and keep working. I can work until I'm 70 and keep making money. I can do it if I'm physically disabled. Those jobs are high-paying because your body can only hold out so long with a lot of those jobs. And one bad injury, and you are cooked with very little ability to transition into a different role profession. Story 46. Railroads. You're away from your family a lot and work most holidays, but 100 to 200K is common where I'm at. Story 47. Real estate agent for a builder. It's like being a realtor without looking for the business. You get to have say in what the entire neighborhood looks like, deciding what house goes on what lot, colors, options, etc. Get to watch families buy their first home and grow. But it's harder than we get credit for. Is it really difficult? No, but it's a lot of acrobatics at times. The last 3 years, with the exception of this year, my wife and I cleared 400 to 550K. This year kinda sucked, but we still are on track for 250. I'm tracking 110K. Biggest thing is it easily gets to your head that you're the best, and the money is endless. You aren't, and it isn't. Have to save for the rainy days because they do come, and it's when you least expect it. I know too many people with 1,600 car payments and expensive lifestyles they can't let go of, and years like this are kicking them in the jerk. I tell friends who aren't in the industry, and I feel like I'm trying to sell them a religion or join an MLM, when reality is I see people smarter than me that work harder who make way less, and I wish they'd hear me out on it. Story 48. My dad cleans pools, leaves the house around 6:30, and gets back home around 11. Makes around 125. Obviously could work longer hours, but he doesn't want to chance skin cancer. Getting easy houses near each other is the key. My dad works primarily in 3 giant gated communities the whole week. You could do 8 in an hour easily if they are near each other. Whereas if you are just starting out and you have to drive a ways in between, you may only be able to do 3 in an hour. Story 49. Pastor of a megachurch. I don't hear of many doctors or lawyers who have their own private jets, but I always hear about megachurch pastors flying around in them. Story 50. Tugboat pilot. 500K, 1M a year easy depending on hours. Master of local waterways bringing barges to port. Answer: not sure if you meant to say harbor pilot. These are the people who board a ship at the sea buoy and take control of a vessel as it enters port and eventually docks. It is a 4 to 7 year apprenticeship and crazy written tests. They do make north of 200K once they become full pilots. You are on call 24 hours a day for a period of time and then get time off. Very stressful and dangerous job. Check out videos of pilots boarding and disembarking while at sea with heavy waves. Story 51. Also gotta love how many of these are, I got lucky and fell jerk backwards into it, or I knew somebody. Story 52. Designer Program Coordinator for Marching Bands. It takes a lot of work for 6 months out of the year, but you can build a great life designing flags and staging flute soloists. Story 53. Medical coding. Most people have no clue what it even is, but some coders clear 80 to 100K a year just from home with zero patient contact. Story 54. There's a lot of jobs that have a huge variation in pay that would fit this question well. For example, as a therapist, I make $300 per hour, but there are also therapists who make less than 50K per year. Story 55. I am a musician, not a famous musician. I don't play my own music for money, just other people's. Playing events in bars. I make over 150K, which shocks the hell out of people. I bought a house last year. For some reason, people think I'm homeless when I tell them I'm a musician, but usually I actually make more than them, and my job is easy, fun, and I make my own schedule. Story 56. Story 57. Mortgage loan officer for a home builder. Pays $300,000 to $400,000 on average. Insane for the actual work involved. Story 58. Honestly, any trade type of work. A guy I went to high school with got into trouble with adult beverage in college and got into a pretty serious accident while driving tipsy. He served his time but never finished college. After he got out, nobody would hire him for a typical office job. He eventually found someone that would take him on as an AC repair apprentice for very little money. He worked his way up, became certified, and eventually opened his own business. He now has the second largest AC repair company in a very major city and makes more money than I do. Story 59. Event coordinator. Work remote from home. $200K a year and amazing benefits. Only pay $20 for health insurance. Company matches $40 of your 401K. Story 60. God, depending on where you live, what counts as pays extremely well is so different. Here I am making significantly more than what most people are saying here and trying to figure out how to survive each month. Story 61. Being an actuary. Very difficult to become one, though. Edit. This line of work isn't well known, so I don't know if it even qualifies for this post. Judging by the answers, only jobs that are known to the average person are being included. Story 62. Insurance adjuster estimator. I work on the auto side, but most companies have house adjusters as well, or they sublet it out to independents. Just like every job, the company you work for and their policies differ. I worked for a very well-known carrier and made close to 100K fully WFH. That particular company culture was horrible, so I took a pay cut and went back out into the field. Base salary now is 80K, and the benefits are amazing. I get a company car. Company pays for gas even with personal use. Pension, 401K match. Health insurance is affordable and great coverage, and a monthly stipend for internet. Technically, I only clock 7.5 hours a day. Typically, I drive around and see 3 cars in the morning. I'm usually back home before noon and do about an hour or so of admin work. I set my own schedule on a daily basis and often don't even leave my house at least 1 day a week. Some people sign up for the catastrophe team, hurricanes, flood, hail, etc., and make well over 100K. The downside is you travel 34 of the year, and I have young kids. Story 63. I'm going to tell you a dirty secret. It's going into specialized sales. I'm a network and cybersecurity engineer by trade. Working in post-sales, aka support, I would be making 80 to 100K or so. Maybe a bit more or less depending on the company. I'd be under stress, always having a fire to put out, endless tickets coming in, possibility that I'd be on call 24/7, and everyone blames you when something doesn't work. Now, I use the same knowledge and skills but have none of the bullshit. Instead, I use my knowledge to sell people the things they need. It's all just troubleshooting and problem solving in the end. Now I listen to a client's problems and tell them what to buy. I enable the salespeople to sell shoot, and I make 2.5x what I would make post-sales. I spend my week sitting in my underwear on conference calls, listening to, well, we would like to do in the next 6 months, and then I basically tell them what to buy. About twice a week, I meet clients for lunch. I call it the chicken sandwich tour because every shoot corporate lunch restaurant has a chicken sandwich, and it's usually decent. You learn quick that you're gambling when ordering the tune poke bowl or Asian glazed salmon, and you simply can't be eating gourmet burgers and fries twice a week in your 40s. Everyone loves me because I give them good and sound advice. I help them find fixes to new problems they're having, as opposed to solving problems they have with existing products that are supposed to work. There's a huge difference here. Everyone wants to talk to you, and they're always so happy to do so. I go to trade shows and I'm given bags of swag, most of which gets given to friends and whomever wants it. I have drawers of free shirts, and I've given away no less than 50 branded water bottles to people. It's fudge sickening. I'm getting paid what I should get, but the people who work harder than me get fudge all. They're the real heroes. But we live in a capitalistic society, and the love is always given to sales, not anything beyond that. Story 64. I knew an ocean-going tug engineer. Really well paid, lots of time off, lots of studying to be qualified for all the systems they have to know. Story 65. Working as a banquet server in the hotel industry. You can make between 40 to 100 an hour depending in the hotel. Work is very easy. Only downside is that it's seasonal, sort of. Most people have 2 to 4 jobs working in different hotels to offset the slow weeks month. One hotel might be slow, but the others will be busy. You can pick and choose where you want to work when you're on call in most of them. On the plus side, they always feed you so you don't have to waste money on food either. Story 66. Facilities technician. I got paid $42 an hour to sit on my jerk and adjust temperatures per demand of the Clearnoom fab I was overwatching. Occasional wastewater pump replacement or sweeping up DI water. I regret leaving that job. Story 67. I do biohazard remediation, but focus on autos, aircraft, semis, RVs, mobile homes, basically anything that is mobile. 60 to 70 of the work is dealing with mold and or very bad unknown odors. Rate is $175, goes to $275 for extreme situations like fentanyl cleanup and remediation, rabies contamination, and Ebola remediation. Story 68. Being a nanny for high-profile families. I make $150K a year. I also work alongside doulas that charge $1,000 a day flat rate, but they typically work shorter contracts, 1 to 3 months at a time. Story 69. I pay my lead carpenter $55 HR with 3 weeks paid vacation, med dental vision, $3K tool allowance, profit share project bonuses. His comp last year was $155K. Framing to finish capabilities top of his field. 36 years old, no college, naturalized citizen. Immigrated and became a citizen in 10 years. Story 70. Unpopular opinion. 70 to 100G is decent, but not extremely well. I earn 100G working on cars, and I have enough to live, and that's about it. Nothing luxury of extravagant over here. Plus, the vast majority of women decide to not date me when they find out what I do for a living. Story 71. Harbor pilots start at a couple of $100,000 per year. Of course, you can't just walk in off the street for that one. Story 72. Air traffic controller at a high-traffic airport. The person I know almost made $600K in 1 year. Not enough people are in the profession, so they offer crazy overtime. Answer. Just don't look up the tragic end, heart attack, and stroke metrics for such a safety-centric job. I wish I was joking. I also say this as a ramp agent loadmaster and dispatcher with an uncle who is a flight planner. ATCs are being paid that much to basically sacrifice their entire lives right now. It shouldn't be a surprise what they make. They are stupidly underpaid for what they do. Story 73. Martial arts. If you have a solid business in a good market, you can make 100 to 200K pretty easily, and far more if you really want to go for it. Story 74. Pay can vary wildly depending on the agency, but 911 dispatch. I am at a medium-sized Midwest city that starts at 30 hours. COL in my area is still pretty good. Our top out is over 40 an hour, and plenty of overtime to be had if you want it. Can easily make over 100K a year at my agency. Story 75. Foundation repair salesman. All I do is use a tool to tell me how your home is settling, then tell you what the tool told me. I don't even do the labor. I just get you to agree to have someone else from my company come do the hard work. My first year, I made a little over 110. Now I routinely pass 200. I had a GED and zero experience when I was hired. Story 76. Story 77. I saw a video recently that showed that Amtrak engineers, after 5 years of seniority and with a modest amount of overtime each week, can earn close to $200K per year. Story 78. Cranberry pickers make crazy good money. There's a range, but I saw up to and over 100 HRUSD with a quick Google search. There's just one itsy-bitsy catch. Story 79. Freight broker. I know guys making 60 to 70K month doing it for years now. Businesses dislike dealing with truck drivers and trucking companies to the point that they'd rather pay a middleman. Not sure how someone hasn't developed a platform to take over that process completely already. It's like the Wild West. Story 80. Letter carrier for the Postal Service. If you like work, you can work as much OT as you want. During COVID, we worked between 10 and 12-hour days for 2 years straight. Made 6 figures those years. Def a grind, though. Story 81. Instagram influencer. I don't think most people know the Instagram influencer girls are raking it in. I know someone who has 800,000 followers and makes 50,000 a month. A different influencer who lives in the same city as me just bought a $5 million house. All she does is post Amazon links all day. Story 82. Ice cream machine technician at McDonald's. 100 first hour, 305 every next 15 minutes. The Taylor Company earns 25 of their profit every year from this alone. Collusion between the two companies is why the ice cream machines are always broken. Story 83. Ethical hackers penetration testers. Most people imagine hackers in hoodies making pennies, but the legit ones get hired by banks and governments to legally break into systems, and they can clear 6 figures easily. Story 84. Pharmaceutical sale. If you are a young female with a great body, you can easily make over 100K with no brain power required. Story 85. Posted this before, but London tube drivers on the sharp end, 90K on the lower end, 63K. Read that on the TfL website. Here, threaten to strike at the drop of hat. Staff and drivers may be split across different unions, and I believe you need to be employed with the TfL for a few years in another role before you can apply to be a driver. Drivers can restart their lunch break, allegedly, if a manager speak to them during it. Probably not actually actioned, or at least I hope not. Driverless trains already exist in London on the Docklands line built in 2000. Did they use driverless trains on the newer lines built since then? Like fudge did they? Story 86. Union electrician in a big city. All you need is a HS diploma and to have passed algebra. My area makes 150K on the check, 40K a year to pension, and all insurance is paid for. Story 87. Mulch. Tree guys pay you to dump their dead and shoot trees. You run it through a chipper and then sell it. Recycling. Someone pays you to pick it up. You sort it and sell it. Story 88. Mechanic. I was making 6 figures in my very early 20s in the early 2000s. Some techs make 200K or more. The key is to be very good at diagnosing issues, especially electrical issues. In flat rate, you are paid on what the job average time to complete takes. If you are good, you can be faster than the book time and get paid more jobs in the same amount of time. For an extreme real-life example of a job I used to commonly perform, the job pays about 8 hours to remove an engine to replace seal an oil pan. I found a way to do the same job without removing the engine. Under warranty, the job pays me the 8 hours, but I could perform the job in about 30 minutes and let the car sit for a few hours to dry while I worked on another job. I would typically flag 75 to 110 hours in a 5-day week, but only actually work 40 to 50 hours. Story 89. Overweight, single male webcam model. I know it sounds crazy, but in Asian countries, they will happily subscribe, and believe me, tipping ain't just a city in China. Story 90. I am an orthotist prosthetist. I have a master's degree, work on call several times a month, and make dogs shoot. I also get treated like dogs shoot by doctors and PAs who consider us brace slingers and don't take into consideration the fact that we go to school for upwards of 6 years, plus residency, to do what we do. Don't do my job. Story 91. We all know it's not teaching. Look at Walter White. He had to work in a car wash, then cooked meth just to pay for his chemo. Story 92. It's getting harder now, but being in video production used to be ridiculous. In 2021, I landed my annual salary in one gig. The project took 1 week to complete. Story 93. I need a well-paying job that doesn't require many hours. Even if they are intense few hours, I can handle that better than 40-hour slog. Story 94. You can make bank installing gutters. The owner of the company I used to work for made an average of $300K per truck annually, and he had more than 10 trucks. Our best installer's truck would clear $800K to $1 million each year. I quit because the owner was a cheap jerk, but I plan on purchasing a couple of gutter trucks in a few years and make bank. Story 95. 911 dispatcher. This varies wildly by location. Some places make minimum wage. I make $51 an hour. That is with 20 years experience, but I believe our starting pay right now is more than $30 an hour. Edited to add. No college required. I'm only a high school graduate. Just have a clean background and speedy typing skills. Story 96. Software sales. I'm 29, 150K base. Work 30 to 40 hours a week. Work from home. Endless freedom. Grateful I took this career path. Happy to answer questions anyone might have. Story 97. Extremely well might be overstating it, but many executive assistants are paid a lot more than people realize. People view them as underpaid secretaries when that's really not the case in terms of pay or in terms of job duties. Story 98. People were always baffled when I told them how much I made working for Best Buy as a designer. Designers are their highest level store salesmen in the premium locations. My last year with them, I made nearly $175K. Story 99. The best money is always made in the shadows. The jobs no one brags about at dinner parties because there's no poetry in them. Funeral directors counting grief by the hour. Long-haul truckers who know the country better than the politicians who gut it. Plumbers, God bless them, who see more of human failure than any priest ever will and bill you triple for the privilege. You want obscene pay? Don't look at the glamorous professions. Look at the quiet hustlers who know how indispensable they are. Waste management, repossession, elevator repair. Jobs where society can't function without you, but no one wants to think about you while they sip cocktails. That's the trick. The real wealth hides in the unmentionables, the capillaries of civilization where shame, necessity, and cash all meet. It's not sexy, but it buys the house faster than another MBA. Story 100. I heard that long-haul truck drivers make good money, and even more if they have a partner driver and a small, fluffy dog. Story 101. Late 80s, Orange County, California. I was a fudge new guy taping drywall. A 6'4" FNG. Chatting with a dude. He had a backpack sprayer filled with kerosene. He sprayed every window just before the stucco sprayers, so it was easier to scrape the stucco off of the glass. It paid $4 per window, per pieces of glass. He didn't touch stucco after, or masking tape before, or anything else, just spray glass with kerosene. Timely. Come to find out the guy was the general contractor for the whole project. Some jobs pay so well the GC keeps them for himself. Story 102. My 16-year-old son started his own window washing business, and he's making bank. He declined a $900 job yesterday because it would take him 10 hours. Ha! He would have done it for $9.99 after lowering his original price. Story 103. Questions should be rephased. Pays extremely well but has normal hours, 40-hour WK, consistent holidays and not much overtime. One can make coin on salary, but look at the hourly rate. Time is money, and that's all one has in the bank. Spend it wisely. Story 104. My stepdad, butcher, used to help a guy who owned his own game processing business. That guy made well over 6 figures in just over 4 months and took the rest of the year off. Story 105. I make over $100K a year for my state Department of Transportation. All I have is my CDL, no specialized training. I scoop dead possums, plow snow, and mow grass. There's a little more to it than that, but we are extremely overpaid for the majority of what we do. Story 106. Film, TV, video industry grips. They're responsible for a number of things, but primarily rigging the cameras, to various structures and shaping lighting fixtures with different textiles and colored gels diffusions. The lowest paid position within the grip department can make roughly 600 to 700,000 10-hour day here in the US and doesn't require any kind of formal education or certifications to get started. In general, you get paid for the full 10 hours, even if the day ends up being significantly shorter. On top of that, the entire industry operates according to California's laws about overtime, even when productions are happening in other states. So basically, you accrue overtime every hour over 8 within a single workday, instead of having to work greater than 40 hours within 1 week, which is great when you get booked on short-term 1 through 4 day jobs. Story 107. If you can board dogs overnight in your home, walk large packs of dogs on leash at the same time, and develop a large client list, you can earn an absolutely shocking amount of money. If you have one daily pack walk 10 to 12 dogs on leash, which would include your overnighters, pick everybody up in a van and drop them off after the walk. You can charge 50 or more per dog per walk. Walk is 1.5 hours. Pick-up and drop-off time adds 3.5 to 4 hours. You can work 6 days a week, really 35 hours per week total, minus all the care you provide the dogs boarded overnight in your home, and average 500 daily easily. In fact, you can make a lot more in well-to-do areas. Gotta work Saturdays, though. Takes time to gain momentum acquiring clients. And turning down bookings with good clients is a big no-no, so finding free time can be difficult. Oh, and one other thing, you have to be an accomplished dog trainer to pull this off. Does require years of experience. Story 108. Gonna jump in here with a plug for organized labor. All sorts of jobs, from package delivery to sanitation to construction, can get workers 6 figures a year thanks to their unions. Story 109. I build elevators and make almost 70 hours plus a benefits package worth 38 hours. All overtime is double time. Story 110. School bus driver trainer was a surprise. I took the job when going to college. After graduation, with seniority raises, I was making more money than my chosen career as a teacher. Being a city employee, the benefits were good too. The district rented the buses out, and the driver was by seniority. I loved getting paid time and a half to drive a group into a Chicago Cubs or White Sox game. My wife got a job with the county health department as a CNA doing home health care. The mileage for a government worker was high, and she picked her route to maximize that tax-free revenue. She always went to the office first, so her drive to the first client was reimbursed. The turnover was high, and with seniority and merit raises, in 5 years she was making more than a starting RN. Story 111. I feel like a lot of these are hard labor, high-risk, specialized trades. If you don't want all that, but you still want good pay, project management is so nice. Currently making $72K a year with incredible flexibility and no physical workload. I cannot stress enough that project management has incredible flexibility. WFH and the mentality is that you attend or host your meetings and get the work done, but there is no strictly held schedule otherwise. I work as an IT project manager for a global corporation, and my pay is as an external contractor. The internal employees within the PMO make even more and have better benefits. No degree required. Certifications can increase your hireability, but are also not required. Story 112. The guys that climb poles in buildings to change lights, and the guys that teach those guys how to not fall and die. Story 113. I make about $150K as a middle manager for a city. Basically, guaranteed 5 merit increase every year, and COLA pretty reliably, at least every couple years. Position tops out at around $180K. I also have a pension. I won't hit it rich working a government job, but I'm comfortable enough. Edited to fix an unintended omission. Story 114. Hospital monitor tech. It's not crazy money, but it is $50K, $75K a year to sit in a room doing nothing but staring at monitors all day. You need no actual medical training or experience beyond basic resuscitation, CPR certifications, and you don't have to do any actual medical work. If something happens to one of the patients, you hit the call doctor button and then stand back and let the doctors do their jobs. Easiest and most low-effort job for that salary most likely, and they're always understaffed because no one realizes that's a thing or that it pays decent. Story 115, Catastrophic Insurance Adjuster. I'm staff, and 3 years in, I think I'm around 150 total comp, 125-ish in salary. Story 116. I make 6 figures as a paralegal, which is generally an associate's degree. I have a bachelor's and a certified, so YRMV. Story 117. The film production industry. No money in feature films or any real narrative work, but corporate and commercial spaces have so much money. I have multiple clients who pay 20 to 40K a day without blinking for a big corporate shoot setup. Easy as piss work, and so much money gets thrown around. The big shoots happen more than you'd think, but even between them you can easily charge 3 to 5K a day for smaller stuff for a few hours. Story 118. Certified nurse anesthetist has a median wage 200K in the US, but it's a niche not many people know about, even among nursing students. Story 119. Union electrician in a supervisor position. Over 250K pension benefits guaranteed. 40 HR checks overtime if I want. Story 120. HVACR, commercial industrial refrigeration, tech. 160K year in a union shop in BC, Canada. I mean, it is tough work sometimes, but also the same pay to change filters. Story 121. Process technician nuclear, chemical plant, or refinery operator. Homer Simpson from The Simpsons is a board operator at a nuke plant. Refinery operators in my area make 55 hours, 12-hour EO shift work, 4 to 4, set of days and nights each week. Time and a half after 8 hours on scheduled days. Normal schedule, 14 days a month. Time and a half on overtime days. Double time on the 7th day in a row worked. Night differential pay. 350 to 1,000 hours of overtime a year. 12 yearly bonus on gross pay. 7 match on 401K and a pension. 400 a month medical, dental for family. 160K to 200K year on average. Requires a 2-year process tech degree from a vocational school. Takes 2 years to reach top pay. Starting pay 35. Story 122. Someone I know worked maintenance at a power station. In around 2006, he was paid 50 AUD an hour, 80 AUD, or 52 USD an hour in 2024 dollars, to monitor and replace a timing belt on a piece of machinery. Nothing else, just replace that part if it failed, which happened once every week or two. He was so bored he started bringing in a DVD player and movies to watch while waiting for this thing to fail. Story 123. Restaurant server in a tourist town. 79 an hour the last couple years. Free dinner and cocktail every night. Story 124. Medical sales rep. Stryker, Synthes, Zimmer, Dornier, graft companies. Many of the sales reps make more than doctors with way less overhead and liability. Starting salary, $200,000 and above. Story 125. Not really a job, but it stuck with me that Jason Derulo stated in an interview that owning car washes made him millions. Even he was surprised, because he saw even during the pandemic, people still wash their cars. The fact is, subscription-based appear as a factor of its success. Of course, he had the cash to invest big in a chain, but I guess one could start with one and see how things go. Story 126. Outside sales medical device. Office hours products, like prosthetic devices, for example. Fantastic work-life balance, little stress, make 120 to 160K. Story 127. Poor toilets or outhouses. The people I knew made upwards of 90K a year. Easy schedule, easy to get vacation. One company had a guy who disliked it and was miserable, and another guy who would have made a cheer counselor blush. The miserable guy was named Princess by the job site crew because he disliked any and all task and work on cleanup. The happy guy, I swear, would have left a mint if it was sanitary and made the TP into a rose or bow if it wasn't a high-value resource. Story 128. The guys/gals at the Denver International Airport train platforms at any concourse, but usually at sea in the blue shirt or high-vis vest that says Alstom, whom some people, but still a lot of people, assume are there to tell you how to get to baggage claim or where you can smoke in a non-smoking airport. are actually train system maintainers observing and reporting train operations and make between 90K and 150K a year without overtime. Story 129. Call center jobs can pay decently, and you don't need any real experience. Just need to not totally fudge up the interview. And even then, some of my coworkers, I'm shocked at how some of them keep their jobs. Story 130. This thread should be published daily online in Instagram, TikTok, and anyway for eyes to read. There's good money here and good jobs. Story 131. Information technology jobs, specifically help desk type, that can give a pathway to higher-end careers. In 2015, I was making 15 HR at a school district help desk for employees, teachers. In 2017, I got a new job at a hotel property making 31 HR. Still help desk, but for employees and guests. In 2019, I got a job at a Fortune 1000 company, making around 36 hours. But I'm at 47 hours right now. Still help desk, but it's more tech advanced, closer to system administrator work. There's overtime opportunities too, but I try to not work more than I need to. So in 10 years, I went from 31,000 annually to 98,000 annually. Just a high school diploma. No college, no certifications, and a few job hops. If I stayed at the school district, still friends with help desk there, I'd be making low 30s from what my friends reported from what they're making. Story 132. Foreclosure law firm enforcers. The folks who work there know the ins and outs of flipping homes, working the bankruptcy systems. They have ins at the courthouses and the big brokerage firms, and basically exploiting the vulnerable to get rich. They're some of the worst rich people I've ever had the misfortune to work with. Racist and ignorant as F, tasteless, and yet they have money to throw around. Story 133. I'm noticing a trend here. Anyone who deals with mass amounts of filth and grimness makes more money than you think. Story 134. I am in exploration seismology. No one has heard of this profession, even though it has been crucial to the energy industry for like 80 years, and the pay is great. If I tell folks about it, they ask if I predict earthquakes. Story 135. Did you know that stunt doubles get paid more than most doctors? I guess risking life and limb really does have its perks. Story 136. I met a garbage man once. He makes decent money, and he gets up early, and his day gets done pretty early. He also doesn't have a boss up his jerk all day. It changed my opinion entirely. Story 137. In Belgium, at least, self-employed nurse. In home care, I make just over 6 figures for about the equivalent of 20 workdays per month. For jobs in hospitals, nursing homes, etc., hourly with my experience is €60, 75 for split shifts and weekends. Story 138. I'm a high school custodian. I make $29 an hour. Great pension, benefits, vacation days, sick days, personal days, weekends and holidays off. 2 weeks paid off at Xmas time. I won't become a millionaire, but I live comfortably. The really great thing about this job is how easy and stress-free it is. I clean my area of the school alone. It's very quiet at night. Listen to podcasts, finish my cleaning in 4 hours, and chill and watch TikToks for the remaining 4 hours. When I leave the parking lot, I don't think of work at all. It's really great. Also, the atmosphere is really positive. I love seeing all the students' artworks and learning stuff.